Are you wanting to use the R visual in Power BI? Well, in this week's Power BI for Sport tutorial, I will show you how to use it and highlight some pros and cons. So let's get started. As always, if you like this video, make sure you hit like and subscribe below, and also hit that notification bell icon so you are notified of future videos. So in this week's tutorial, we're going to look at how to use the R visual in Power BI. The R visual is very useful when you're wanting to create something that's not readily possible with the basic built-in visuals of Power BI. There are a few pros and cons with its use, and I'll talk through those at the end. But first of all, let's create a really simple R visual that will replace what we have here in front of us, which is our built-in bar chart. And we've got our preseason and our in-season stages highlighted. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this visual a little bit smaller, and then I'm just going to copy it down. So with the R visual, I'll just add that in now. What you'll do is once you click on it, you will get this editor that gets brought up. What you'll want to do is add the values that you want added and onto your visual or used by your visual into the values pane here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to write code here in the editor just as you would in R itself. So that means you're going to have to add in the libraries that you want to use and any other data transformation steps that you require to make your visual work. So if you haven't used R before and you're wanting to use the R visual, make sure you check out a few of my other videos on R for Sport, and I'll put a little card up in the top corner for you to find those. But to get started, what we're going to do is we need to put in our libraries. So we're going to put ggplot2, and then I always like to use tidyverse just because that's who I am. So what we're going to do is when you use the R visual, the data set or the code at the front here is always used by Power BI to create a data set as a data frame of week, total distance, and season stage. And then it likes to use this unique step as well. So you'll find that you need to make sure that everything you have is well, curated or looked after and actually calculates to what you want. If you weren't summing your total distance, you might lose things and things like that. So make sure that you've got that all sorted out cleanly. And then what I'm going to do here is I like to put data set here, and then I do use the pipe, and then I get my ggplot. So now that we've got our data set, and that just means it's easier, or for me, I find it easier just to be able to put in your values rather than having to type out data set or put data set into the data sort of part of the code or the plot here. So what we're going to do here instead is now we're just going to put in our, aesthetics or what you're going to use. And so on our x-axis, we want to have our week number or of our data set. So we're going to put week just like this. And then we're going to have y equals our total distance, just like that. And then we got our plus on the end. So when you get ggplot opened, or started, you don't use the common pipe, this part here that you would use in normal code. You'll just use a plus sign, and that kind of just means like it's adding on to ggplot all the different sub functions you want it to use. So the next step is we're going to just create a bar chart. So this one is just as easy, geom bar. And the first thing or the main thing you do have to do here is you need to call stat, and bar charts you will always need to do this in ggplot. And we are just calling identity for this. And that should be enough to create a very simple visual. So we'll hit play up here in the top corner, and now you can see that our visual has appeared on our canvas here. So when we minimize the editor, you can kind of see the values do match. You've got your axes, your week, and your total distance, and you've got a very basic looking chart. If we click back on the visual and we expand our editor again, we can add some different rows as well. So here, for example, some of the other things you can call are themes. So we can add this one here, it's called classic, but it will just remove the gray background, make it white, add some thicker access lines and things like that. So now you can see there it's slightly different, looks a little bit cleaner. Otherwise there are some other options, I think theme black and white and like this, and there's a few other ones as well, theme minimal. If you search ggplot online on Google, you will find all the different themes that you can add in and stuff like that. So what we're just gonna stick with classic here, and the last thing we were going to do is add in the ability to color our bars. So we'll do that here in the geom bar function, and all we're gonna do is go fill equals season stage, and this just means that it'll help you, or it'll fill it by the dynamic value that you have. So if you were to filter the dates, it will only color it by one thing or the other, depending on what you look at. It will choose the colors itself rather than you having the ability to. But if you search on Google again, you can find the way of manually filling in your values here. And that'll help just be able to choose the colors that you actually want. So all of the customization for this visual that you want to do has to be done within the code in this editor. So in that sense, if we were to look at some pros and cons already, that may be one of the cons, as you may have to fill in quite a few steps to get the visual to look exactly like you want. So for example, if we want to remove the legend, we need to go theme legend dot position equals none, and that should just remove your legend from on the figure. Oops. I have accidentally spelled legend, so let's just restart that there. Sorry for that little pause there. I was a little bit confused as to what had gone on, but now we can see here, now our legend is gone, and if you were wanting to, you can change this to show it on the top, bottom, things like that. But for now, there is a very simple visual, so let's just minimize the pain here. So what are the benefits or the pros and cons of having an R visual on your workbook? And one of them might be is just simply this, is you can create anything you want with ggplot. That allows you to be highly customizable to create any kind of visual you might want. And that would be outside of any of the visuals that you don't have here in the visual pane. The only issue or some of the cons that you have with it, like I said, is all the customization needs to occur within the editor window here down the bottom. You need to put every step that you would want to change the look and feel of your visual there. If you want to add data labels, it needs to be in the code. If you want to be able to change the colors, you have to manually add those in and things like that. And then the last thing is that this image here will only be shown as a static image. So it's basically like importing a PNG or a JPEG. There is no interaction with the visual as such, in terms of I can't see on here my tooltip. Like, that is not possible with the R visual, and that's because it is only rendered as a static image. But that doesn't mean that there's no interaction with the things around it. So if you have a slicer or slices, it will adjust the value, but as you can see, it is a little bit slower, as it needs to rerun all that code or whatever code that you've added to be able to recreate the chart. So rather than being quite quick and responsive, it is a little bit slower. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't have a place within your dashboards and reports. It might help you to better visualize a visual, or some data than any of the built-in visualizations have. And the thing is, you can also take it a step further and create a full customized visual that you can import into Power BI. And that's something that we may look at in the future, but it involves a few more steps, some knowledge of some other coding types called TypeScript, and using or creating this visual outside of Power BI so that you can then import it in. And then it would work very much the same as these built-in visuals where you'll have where you put your metrics or your values into your visualization value pane, and then it'll render the visual and allow you to have the tooltips appear and things like that. So for now, I hope you liked this video, and let me know how you might start to use our visuals in the comments below. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing you next time where we will continue to power performance through data. Thank you.